When this baby hits 88 miles per hour, you're gonna see some serious shit.
For about 6 weeks, in the winter of 1984, the most famous teenager in movie history was played by a completely different actor. His name was Eric Stoltz. He filmed scene after scene as Marty McFly, and then, with the cameras already rolling and millions of dollars spent, the filmmakers made one of the hardest decisions in Hollywood history.
Marty, you made it!
Yeah!
They let him go, recast the lead, and reshot the entire film. The footage Stoltz had shot was quietly set aside. Most of it has never been released.
Hey, I've seen this one. This is a classic.
This is the story of the version of Back to the Future that almost was, and the actor who filmed it first. When Robert Zemeckis and Bob Gale wrote Back to the Future, they had one actor in mind for Marty McFly, Michael J. Fox.
Yo!
Marty, is that you?
There was a problem. Fox was the star of the hit sitcom Family Ties.
Well, Dad, I was thinking, term papers and exams come and go, but the family unit is the one true constant in life.
And the show's producers were not willing to release him for a film. To the filmmakers, Fox was effectively unavailable, and they were forced to look elsewhere. They auditioned a long list of young actors' names that would go on to their own fame, reportedly including John Cusack, Charlie Sheen, C. Thomas Howell, and Ralph Macchio. None of them was the answer. Meanwhile, the head of Universal, Sidney Sheinberg, had been deeply impressed by a young actor he had just seen in The Drama Mask. That actor was Eric Stoltz. Sheinberg pushed hard for him, and according to several accounts told Zemeckis he was so confident in the choice that, if it didn't work, he would let the director shut the production down and start again. It was a promise that would soon be tested. Eric Stoltz got the part, and principal photography began on the 26th of November, 1984. On paper, it was a sound decision. Stoltz was a serious, gifted actor, fresh off an acclaimed performance in Mask. The cast assembled around him Christopher Lloyd as Doc Brown, Leah Thompson, Crispin Glover, Thomas Wilson as Biff. For weeks, this was Back to the Future. Stoltz played the skateboard chase, the clash with Biff, the arrival in 1955. But almost from the start, Zemeckis felt that something was missing.
This is it.
The script he and Gale had written was a fast, light, joke-driven comedy. Stoltz approached Marty as a dramatic role, and the lightness the filmmakers had imagined on the page was not appearing on screen. They kept shooting, hoping it would come together. It did not.
Ah, Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ, Doc, you disintegrated Einstein.
About a month into the shoot, Zemeckis sat down and reviewed the footage with his producers. Zemeckis was, by his own admission, a self-critical director, but this was different. Watching the assembled scenes, he and the producers came to an uncomfortable agreement. Stoltz was not the Marty McFly the film needed. The performance was strong, but it was the wrong key for the story.
What, is it hot?
This is a crucial point, and it is where the clone channels get the story wrong. Stoltz was not difficult to work with in the sense of being unprofessional, and there was no scandal. The issue was a mismatch of tone, a serious actor cast in a comedy that needed a different energy. Zemeckis later called the situation entirely his own responsibility, saying he had simply miscast the part and learned a hard lesson about getting casting right. But realizing the problem was one thing. Fixing it, a month into production, was another thing entirely.
Listen, you gotta help me.
Stop while we're down!
There was a second factor, beyond tone. Eric Stoltz worked in the method tradition he stayed in character. Members of the cast have recalled that he asked to be called Marty on set, and even off it. Claudia Wells, who played Marty's girlfriend Jennifer, has told the story about Stoltz telephoning her home and asking, in character, to speak to Jennifer. Some of the cast found the intensity difficult, and on a comedy that depended on quick, loose, playful timing, it added friction.
Save the clock tower! Save the clock tower!
None of this made Stoltz a villain. He was committed to his craft, and his approach simply belonged to a different kind of film. But combined with the tonal mismatch the director had already spotted, the pressure to make a change was building. And then Steven Spielberg got involved. Steven Spielberg was the film's executive producer, and his company Amblin was at the center of the production. According to accounts of those weeks, Spielberg told Zemeckis bluntly that the situation could not continue, that they had to replace Stoltz or they risked the whole production collapsing. It was the warning that forced the decision. Zemeckis went back to the one option he had always wanted, Michael J. Fox.
Hey, McFly! What do you think you're doing?
This time, the filmmakers approached Fox and the producers of Family Ties directly and worked out an arrangement that would let Fox shoot the film around his television schedule. Fox said yes. But saying yes created an enormous problem. Roughly a month of the movie had already been shot with another actor in nearly every scene. To put Fox in the film, almost all of it would have to be filmed again from the beginning. Recasting the lead a month into filming is one of the most expensive things a production can do. Every scene with Stoltz would have to be reshot. Sets had to be held or rebuilt, the schedule extended, the crew kept on. The change is widely reported to have added somewhere between $3 and $4 million to a budget of around $15 million, a substantial sum in 1984. Crucially, this was not a studio trying to bury a mistake. It was the studio, through Sidney Sheinberg, honoring the promise he had made and paying for the reshoot. Zemeckis has described firing Stoltz as the hardest and worst experience of his career, a decision he found genuinely painful, even though he believed it was necessary. There is a quiet irony in it that fits the film perfectly. A single decision made under pressure that completely changed the future. In retrospect, for a movie that would earn close to $400 million worldwide, it was a bargain. There was one more awkward stretch to get through. Once the decision was made, the production could not simply stop. Contracts, schedules, and other actors' availability meant filming carried on for a short time while the transition was arranged. Crew members have recalled that during those days, the production used Stoltz's remaining footage mostly as a kind of technical rehearsal, a way to keep blocking out scenes and shooting the other actors' coverage. While everyone senior already knew the lead was going to change, it was, by several accounts, an uncomfortable time on set. Then Fox arrived, and the pace transformed. One cast member recalled that scenes which had taken weeks to shoot with Stoltz were now being completed in a matter of days.
That's where you going?
That's right. 25 years into the future.
The film the audience knows had finally begun, but its star was about to attempt something close to impossible. Michael J. Fox was 23 years old, and he did not stop working. By day, he filmed his television series Family Ties. By night and into the early hours, he shot Back to the Future. For months, he ran on a few hours of sleep, ferried between a soundstage and a film set, performing two of the most demanding jobs in entertainment at the same time.
Look at your brother.
His head's gone. It's like it's been erased.
Most of Marty McFly's daytime scenes in the film were in fact shot at night, after Fox's television day was done. He has said he was so exhausted that the period passed in a blur. And yet, what ended up on screen is one of the most beloved comedic performances of the decade, a portrayal so natural that, for 40 years, most viewers never even realized another actor had played the role first. The grind was invisible.
In about 30 years?
I hope so.
So, almost entirely, was Eric Stoltz. Here is a detail most people never notice. Not every frame of Eric Stoltz was reshot. A handful of his shots reportedly survive in the finished film moments where his face is turned away, blurred, or too distant to identify. Fans and crew have pointed to the punch that knocks Biff to the floor in the diner. It is a tight close-up on Thomas Wilson's reaction, and Wilson himself has said he believes the fist that hits him in that shot is Eric Stoltz's, not Michael J. Fox's, because the close framing made a reshoot unnecessary. Other shots said to remain include distant or motion-blurred frames during the skateboard chase and the DeLorean driving sequences. If those identifications are correct, then for 40 years, audiences have been watching tiny pieces of the original Marty hidden in plain sight, the only glimpses of him that most viewers will ever see in the actual movie. So what happened to everything else the weeks of Steven Stoltz shot? This is where the channel's promise matters most, because the truth is more interesting than the myth. There is no finished Eric Stoltz cut of Back to the Future. Stoltz was replaced roughly a month into a 3-month shoot, so a complete alternate version of the film was never assembled, it does not exist, and never did. But the footage that was shot was not destroyed. Robert Zemeckis has said that the original tapes still exist and were kept, and that they might one day be released. And some of it already has been. In 2010, for the film's 25th anniversary, a documentary on the Blu-ray release finally showed several minutes of Eric Stoltz performing as Marty McFly, the first time the public had clearly seen him in the role. The rest remains in the vault, not banned, not lost. Simply set aside a buried performance from a film that was made twice. For 4 decades, Eric Stoltz said almost nothing about Back to the Future. He moved on to a long and respected career and let the role go. Then, in 2025, for the film's 40th anniversary, Michael J. Fox published a memoir about the making of the film. While writing it, Fox reached out to Stoltz, the man he had replaced, with a letter, half expecting to be told to leave him alone. Stoltz replied, with humor, and although he declined to take part in the book, the two men finally met in person, 4 decades after one had taken the other's role. Fox has described it as a warm, generous conversation between two people who had been quietly linked for 40 years. There were, in the end, no enemies and no rivals, just 2 actors and a story they had each lived from opposite sides. Back to the Future is remembered as effortless, a perfect, joyful piece of filmmaking. But it was made twice. Its first, Marty McFly, filmed for weeks before he was let go, and the entire picture was shot again. The change cost millions, nearly collapsed the production, and forced its eventual star to live 2 jobs at once. And somewhere in a vault sit the weeks of footage of the other Marty, the version that almost was. Not banned, not lost, just the road not taken, by a film that ended up changing the future.
Hey, Doc, we better back up. We don't have enough road to get up to 88.
Roads? Where we're going, we don't need roads.